prospects that we can think over on this topic. So let me just start with one of the the first thing that comes to mind. Why do we need auditing? What is it? So for that, I'm assuming you guys know what's a blockchain. So a blockchain is just like a database. If you have worked on any coding project before this, you might have used a database where we store all the data. So we have front end, we have back end, and we have a database where we store all the user data, all the streams data, and all the extra data. But the facility that we have in our current database is that we can read and write both, and we can modify the data. Now, the blockchain is a type of data and which allow us to write immutable storage on the blockchain. So what happens is blockchain consists of multiple nodes. So let's say there are 100 nodes, and to make any modification, we require a consensus. A consensus is a way to reach agreement to update all the blocks in a chain. So once we reach a consensus, the blocks get added onto the blockchain and we can modify it. So even if a hacker or even if someone malicious player wants to modify the database, he has to reach the consensus. So he requires, so there are different kinds of consensus. Let's say a simple one, majority consensus, which required 51% of the participants to agree on a modification. So let's say we are storing the banking details of users on a blockchain. We would be storing the balances of different users, what they have in their accounts. And to update a transfer from a person 1 to person 2, we need consensus. So if 51% of the people agree, yeah, that the person A has transferred some amount to person B, they will all agree, and then the modification would be imprinted onto the blockchain. So this is how the blockchain works. It gives the advantage of immutability. So user can't just modify the database. It can't be hacked, and there is no way that it can be used otherwise. So that's a blockchain, brief intro. And to know more about blockchain, you can read about the Ethereum white paper, Bitcoin white paper. So these are different blockchains, but all has the same concept, but different consensus algorithm, because they are dedicated for different purpose. So the main point is that once you deploy a logic onto the blockchain, that is immutable. You can't change that logic. So what do we need is that we need a thorough review of the code, of the logic, the functionality that we are adding onto the contract. So that's why we need auditing. So in audit is a process of evaluating and assessing the security concerns and the functionality that would be performed by the smart contract. So if it's a banking contract, or if it's a NFT contract. So let me just give you an example. You might have heard about the NFTs, right? So NFTs are different kinds of objects. It can be anything. It can be an image, it can be a house, it can be a real estate property, it can be asset fact tokenization. So it can represent anything. And what we do is we map the ownership of those assets onto the blockchain. Now, you might have heard about different NFTs, but what happened initially, user deploy their contract, they launch their NFTs, but after that, what they realize is that they were selling NFTs and users were giving them funds. Let's say in ETH, each NFT was 1 ETH. So users were giving them funds 1 ETH and getting the NFT, and let's say that NFT represent real estate ownership. Okay. So they got real estate ownership. One NFT represent, let's say 1%. So 100 people got 1% each, so 100% ownership of their property. Now the owner of that contract realizes that in the contract, the withdrawal function is missing. Means the 100 ether that he has got on selling the NFT, he can't withdraw it, right? So all the ether lies in that contract, and he missed that withdraw function. And now, since due to the immutability nature of that contract, the funds will remain locked in that contract forever, right? So this is just a basic example on the functionality part of why do we need, the code review, the auditing of the contract, its functionality. Now let's talk on the security aspects. So there's a banking contract and it allows users to deposit their funds on a rate of interest on their balance and withdraw their funds. So that's the core functionality that we do with a bank. But what happened? There's a vulnerability that you might have heard, reentrancy. So what happened in that? In the withdrawal flow, two things will happen. First, let's say you want to withdraw $100. So in the withdrawal function, we will have first logic that is your balance greater than or equal to $100. First, it will check that. If yes, the banking contract will transfer that amount to your account. And then it will update your balance that now you have withdrawn $100. So it will deduct that particular amount from your balance. So this is a basic withdrawal flow. But what happens in reentrancy? Let's say you are updating the state after the call of transfer. So let's say the contract is transferring $100 to your wallet. So in blockchain, we have wallets, external wallets or the contract wallets. And the amount is transferred to that. And after that, we reduce your balance. But in reentrancy, what users can do, they can launch a contract wallet. And once we call that contract wallet, the contract wallet again call that withdraw to withdraw the funds. So in that cycle, the updation of balance didn't happen, but the withdrawal, the transfer of funds happened in loop. And after that, let's say after 10 cycles, the contract doesn't call the withdraw and the user balance is updated minus $100, right? So he has withdrawn 10 times because his main balance was not updated before the withdrawal happened. So this is security vulnerability on the contract side. So this has also to be taken care of, plus the functionality part. So these are the main two things that we why we need auditing: the functionality check and the security check. So what's the let's pick up the next question. What's the role of auditors in blockchain? So in blockchain, we determine what the team is doing, what the development project is doing. Are there NFT project? Are there token project? Are there DeFi project? Or are there DAO project? Are there multi-sig wallet? So there can be any functionality. So what auditors do, they understand the requirement, what they want to do, how they are doing, what standard they are using, and we figure out the whole flow, test the whole flow, test the functionality that it will be working fine, and check for all the vulnerabilities in the contract. So this is, what in short, what we have is term as auditing, right? Now, moving on to the next part, how to start auditing. Let's take a step back and see what are the types of auditing. So auditing can be of multiple types. So we have different kinds of blockchains in current ecosystem. We have EVM chains, right? So we have Ethereum, we have Polygon, we have Binance. So these are all EVM chains. Now so these chains use smart contracts, and these contracts are written in Solidity language. Now we have chains like ICP, Internet Computer Protocol. They have different sets of contract which are written in different Motoko language. Then we have Solana, and we also have multiple other languages, blockchains that have contracts that are written in Rust languages. So as a contract, you have to decide what your focus is, what blockchains are you targeting, and then you have to understand the basics of it. So to start the process of auditing, you have to first understand what a blockchain is, how the blockchain is working, what's the EVM client if you're focusing on EVM chains, how the client is working, how the transaction are executing on the block, right? So with this basic understanding, you will get to know the clear picture on how the latest vulnerabilities that are being detected, the front run, the back run, backtracking, all these vulnerabilities, these require a fundamental understanding of all the chains. For example, in Ethereum, the transactions are of atomic nature. What does that mean? Let's say you are sending funds to hundreds of users, right? And to each user, you are sending $10. Now you have executed that transaction. Now the transaction will check first address, send $10, second address, $10. This is how the code will execute, okay, one by one. We don't have parallel execution on EVM client, but we have that parallel execution on other chains. So what happened is that one by one, the funds are transferred to different addresses. Now let's say on the 60th address, there is some mistake, okay, and that particular transaction throws an error. So what will happen on EVM? The whole transaction would be reverted. So the first transfer will also, till the first transfer will be reverted. So that's the atomic nature of EVM transactions. So these are the fundamental things that you have to first understand to know the basics on the, the high level vulnerabilities that we will talk about. So let's talk about the skill sets that you need to become an auditor, right? So first, decide which blockchain you're focusing on, and then decide the languages their contract is written, right? So you should be an expert in that language. If you don't have a proper understanding of that language, the syntax and how the different languages are evolving, you won't be able to get the vulnerabilities, the syntax error or different optimization methods. So understanding of that language, understanding of the blockchain, then we have to go over different standards. So you might have heard of ERC20, ERC721. So what are these? These are, so let's say you want to create your own token. Okay, now you can write your own logic. You can write your own logic. It will have a mint function. It will have a transfer function. It will have a burn function. So what these teams have done, they have standardized the operation. So ERC20 token is the standard of functionality. So if you follow ERC20 standard, you will have this functions in your token. If you have those, you're following ERC20 standard. So that's pretty much straightforward. So what these standard do, they standardize the process of doing a particular thing. So launching an NFT, follow the ERC721 contract, right? Launching a DAO, follow that particular ERC. Follow a rental NFTs, follow this contract. Follow royalties NFT, you have to follow this ERC. And you are doing signatures, you have to follow 712. So this is how the standards are done. So you have to see and study the standards, because as an auditor, you have to follow the best optimized approach. And you have to suggest that to the teams, the development teams that you would be auditing for, right? So the understanding of blockchain, the understanding of language that it's using, the standards, and the fourth would be the different concepts in the blockchain ecosystem right now that we have. So the easiest one is token. Then we have NFTs, right? Then we have decentralized exchanges, right? Then we have arbitrage bots. Then we have multi-signatures. Then we have multi-call, delegate calls. So you have to understand what are these, what is decentralized exchange. You have to understand that, because as an auditor, you would be getting different projects, and you should know about that, right? Because you would be auditing that. So you have to go through the different concepts that are revolving and that are evolving in the blockchain space. And right, so the blockchain space is highly evolving. So if you follow EVM, you will see recently Solidity launched their latest version 0.8.21 with new features. So you have to update yourself on a daily basis if you want to be an auditor. So these are the skill set that you require: basic understanding, standards, and the concepts. Now let's talk about the steps to initiate an audit. What is the process? How do you audit? Let's say you got all the above prerequisite and you got all the understanding skill sets. Then you want to do practice. You want to do an audit it in a formal way. So how you will start that? So first, you will get the understanding of the project. What's the purpose, what's the objective of the project, what they are trying to do, right? Each tiny detail you should know about, because if you miss anything, that will collapse the whole project later, right? If you miss the withdraw function, the whole thing is gone, right? So first you need to have proper documentation, proper understanding of the project. If you don't have, ask the team, study about the project, what are they are doing, what they are trying to achieve, and from different point of views, from team point of views, from their users that would be using their web3 platform point of view, right, and from the security point of view. So you have to understand the whole requirement of the project. Then you have to understand what are the requirement on the front end, on the websites, or on the back end. What information do we require? Do they require on the blockchain? So in blockchain, we have different type of storage. We have memory storage. We have the storage option. So each one has different pricing. So to store data on blockchain, it costs, right? So you have to check that are they using proper storage, and then the access controls, who are the stakeholders in the project, what are the functionalities. So these are the basic things that you have to understand. Then you will start with the process. What we will do first we will check all the unit test cases of the project. So unit test cases cover everything about the functionality, right? So let's say you have deployed an NFT marketplace. So you will write unit test cases, and for that you can use different tools like Hardhat or Foundry. So they will allow you to write test cases and execute them. And in unit test cases, you will cover each and every extreme test cases also. Like if let's say I want to buy an NFT, but I don't send any money, right? So each NFT costs 1 Ether. I didn't send 1 Ether, but I clicked on buy NFT option. So that's a one unit test case. Then I make an order for 2 NFT, but I paid the price little low, right? Not 2 Ether, 1.5 Ether. So like this, you have to test all the extreme test cases. Then you will go for the coverage. So coverage will tell you, have you tested all the code, right? So 100% coverage, that is standard. You have to follow that, but above 95, that's pretty much, good. So unit test cases, check the coverage. Then you have to go for a static analysis of the contracts. What we do in static is we detect different vulnerabilities, those that are static in nature, the overflow, underflow, the reentrancy, the different assembly issues. So for that, you can use different tools like MythX, you can use Mithril, Slither. So these are the different tools that will automatically detect all the static vulnerabilities. Then let's say you are working on a DEX, decentralized exchange, and you have done all the above thing. You have understand the process, tested all the unit test cases. Now you want to do a dynamic analysis, or the what we say first testing. What happen in dynamic is that you execute all the function with random values. So you will there's a DEX, or let's say take an easy example. There's a banking contract. In that, user can come, they can deposit funds, get a rate of interest, and withdraw funds. So three functions are there: deposit, withdraw, and to modify rate of interest by the admin. So what will happen in first testing? The compiler will compile, and then the tester will send random variables as in the function arguments. So randomly it will just throw values and test if the function is failing or if the code is giving error somewhere. And there would be some invariant. So invariant are the conditions that can never be false. So let's say my balance can't be less than 0, or whatever I have deposit, it can't be greater than my withdrawal can be greater than my deposit. So these are the conditions that we can put in as invariants. So that's how we do the dynamic analysis or the first testing in testing. So dynamic analysis, that's the last case. Now what we do in audit is that after doing all this processing, you will write a report mentioning all the vulnerabilities you have found and the recommendation that you are giving to the team. So that's the the whole overall process flow of the audit. Now to know about the best practices in auditing, you have to work on functionality understanding of all the type of the new upcoming projects. like dexes, new type of dexes, new consensus, and you have to know about the latest development in solidity and in vulnerabilities that are being found. So you have to keep yourself updated on that. You have to learn about different optimization technique to save gas cost. So the security is not the only concern. As an auditor, you have to see about the optimization. So you want to see that the code is written in an optimized manner, because each transaction will cost money to users. So you have to see that also. So for example, in EVM chains, you will have like we store data in 32-bit slots. So you have to see how you can compile those, how you can combine those and fix them into a particular slots. So that's how optimization is done. What's the best approach in which less number of variables are used in storage, right? Right. So other than that, what we have is to learn these all things, to get yourself updated. You can follow different resources that I would be sharing. Plus, what you need to do is study different codes, right? Study different contracts. Let's say we got Uniswap V3 protocol, right? It's a decentralized exchange. So go into that. It's all open source. In blockchain, we have all open source. Go into it and see how it's happening, how it's working. Since they are the leader of the market, they would be using the latest tech, right? They would be using, you would see how they are using multi-call features. So you would get to know lots of feature by reviewing the code of the latest protocols, right? So follow them, understand those new tech that are coming. So you would bring those techniques into your own work. You would understand that better, right? So do code reviews of all the latest protocols. Now follow the industry standard. Use different, the concepts. Like if you want to transfer tokens, you can use different options. So what are the let's say you want to transfer token, we have call, we have send, we have transfer. So what is the difference between the different concepts, right? You should know that thoroughly. Now to come on the type of vulnerabilities, we have different kinds of concepts. So although blockchain has immutable contracts, we have upgradability features. So you can have contracts which can be upgraded later by the admins, right? So it gives a benefit. You can upgrade the code, but it gives a vulnerability also. If the admin is exposed, they can upgrade to anything. They can, remove the withdraw condition that anyone can withdraw anyone funds. So if a hacker, got access to admin funds. So you have to learn about different upgradability patterns. You have to learn different standards like security token, ERC 1400, royalty standards. Then the main thing that we need is the assembly language. So you have to go overview the different usage of assembly languages that are used to optimize code. I think we have gone through most of the things, the resources. So George, job opportunity wise, so since the market is pretty big and we are still in the beginning phase, we are still in the nascent phase. So there would be huge, huge gap, and the demand would be huge. Once we know, right now we are in bear market, but still the development is continuing. So once you gather the skill set that is needed, you would be finding the work easily. There won't be that much challenge, but you have to prove yourself. You have to do some work, create some projects, show them, to the recruiters, to the projects owners that, you are capable. So once you have that skill set, it won't be a challenge to get any role in blockchain space. For auditors, you have to understand, more than what the development need. You need to know about the latest vulnerability. As I said, you need to update yourself. So once you have those, all the capabilities, the job market is pretty huge. And since we are in a globalized age, you won't have to restrict to Indian firms. You can look out for Southeast Asia, the Middle East, and the, Europe and the US part. Just you can use different job platforms, LinkedIn and all. So that will help you, and side by side, sharpen your skill set, and uh, do the work learn new things every day. Yeah, I think we are done here. If any question you guys can ask, would be happy to. Okay, real estate tokenization, which variability हो सकती है? So real estate tokenization, there can be multiple variables. It depends. Like you can have rental yields, you can have the ownership yields in real estate, and you can have DAO functionality in it. So you have to be more specific if what variability are we talking about here. Is there any way to reduce complexity in auditing in Rust language? Not straightforward. We don't have as such. You have to go into the details. We don't have any specific tools like we have in Solidity. So you have to go manual line by line and detect and analyze all the code. Become auditor, I don't even know. It's looks so difficult to become an auditor. I don't even know where to start. You need to so many things to know, right? So that's correct, but you have to take one step at a time. So as I said, first know what's a blockchain. Once you get understanding of that, move to particular blockchain that interests you, go through different explore different chains, and then each chain will have a specific language. Go through that, understand that. You have to give in time, obviously, to learn that, to sharpen your skill sets. You have to give in time, but don't look it as a one thing. Break it down into multiple pieces and do it one by one. That would be more easier for you, right? And so in few more months you would be ready, I think, as an auditor. Any more question? Right. Akshit, I think we can wrap up if we have any more questions.
Okay, so I hope everyone you find today's session insightful. If you have any question or need any advice regarding smart contract auditing or anything, feel free to reach out us on our social media. Also, if you come across any opportunities related to smart contract auditing, don't hesitate to refer them to us, and you could earn an existing 15 to 20% reward for your valuable referrals. You can contact us through our social media or email us at hello@security.in. And if you have any query regarding anything, you can join our social media, Twitter, Telegram, and reach out to us.
Okay. Thanks everyone. Bye bye.